Folks, welcome to Business Box. I am your host, Dallas, and with me is the other host.
Bryce, I was really worried you were going to introduce me as a guest because of the way that you started that out, but this is an emergency podcast.
This is an emergency, yeah.
The stock market has just crashed. Today, August, I don't know, I think 6th, and we are here.
Well, yesterday. Markets aren't open yet. You would know that.
I would know that, yeah.
You do know that is what I meant to say. You do know that.
And we are here to help make sure that you know how to make money in this time of crisis.
Exactly, because as you can tell, the stock market, you just can't fucking trust.
You can't trust it.
The most important thing you can do right now, right, if you are someone who is invested in the stocks, the stock market
in general,
S&P 500, I call it the suck and penis 500, the S&P.
I've heard them call it that.
Roth IRA. You know what else has the abbreviations of the IRA? The Army in Ireland, which I don't know if they're good or bad, but it's scary because they have guns and stuff.
Yeah.
Point is,
let's start off with a quick tip, because this is maybe you clicked into this video because you're like, okay, I need to make money right now, right this second.
Yeah. Which we'll get to.
If you have $100,000 in your bank account right now, you need to put all of that into Bitcoin right now and then wait 10 years.
Yep.
After that,
because when Bitcoin triples every year.
Exactly. So by the time that you pull out in 10 years, you'll probably have about $105,000.
Here's what I'll say. Crypto is fine. That's an acceptable way to make money.
Exactly.
Right? Because crypto goes up.
Right.
The normal stock market, and we'll get more into the stocks later because we need to get into the actual meat and potatoes here.
Exactly.
The most important thing that I can recommend to you, if you have money invested in the stock market, you need to call your broker and sell your entire portfolio right now.
Exactly.
The reason for that is because the stock market, as you can see here, is crashing. The prices are low.
Yeah.
And when prices are low, that's scary. And it's important that everybody panics and sells all their stuff.
Yeah.
Because the prices are low. And it's going to get lower.
You need to get out.
So you need to sell. If you have cash, if you have like liquid assets, go to the bank, take the cash out.
But don't worry. We're here to help you make up your losses, because this is the Business Box. And we have plenty of ideas for you.
So here's the thing. As we already touched on, stock market, no bueno. You need to make real money. And the way to do that is by starting and investing in businesses. You might be thinking to yourself, what business could I make? A store, this or that? No, don't worry about that. We have you covered. We have some great ideas for businesses that you can start largely with no capital or next to no capital. Things you might already have lying around the house. Let's get into our first business idea.
Yeah, let's start it up.
Bryce, you want to take point on this first slide here?
Yeah. So the first idea, like Dallas was saying, we wanted to make sure you're making up for your losses. You don't want to start with a high cost, high investment business. This is the lowest possible investment you would need to make. This is Pigeon Arbitrage, subtitled Foul Funded Finance. And honestly, not only is this a very profitable business with very high ROI, this is also one of the most fun businesses. And if you're having fun, you're not even working a job. Let's move on to this next slide here. Now,
what is arbitrage?
Exactly. This, honestly, Dallas is an expert in arbitrage.
I'm very familiar with it. It's what I studied, actually. But I do get asked quite a bit about what it is. So arbitrage is the simultaneous buying and selling of securities, currency, or commodities in different markets or in derivative forms in order to take advantage of differing prices for the same asset.
Textbook.
Here's an example. Suppose one restaurant sells cheeseburgers for $5, but the pawn shop next door, they buy cheeseburgers for $10. If you purchase a cheeseburger at the restaurant and sell it at the pawn shop, you are profiting $5. That is arbitrage.
Pretty simple. If you don't get this, I'll be honest, we might have some remedial business ideas coming for you soon. Let's go on to this next slide. What are pigeons? Now this is important because this is the second most important, maybe the first. It's kind of a balancing act, figure out which one's more important. But pigeon, pretty self-explanatory. You've probably seen one around town. Maybe you've seen some outside. this is going to be very important because you're going to need to remember where you've seen these things before.
It is an important part of it. And I would say that knowing what pigeons are is really important because, like Bryce was saying a second ago, this is half of the business idea, right? In East Asian cultures, they have this concept of the yin and the yang. And what that's supposed to signify is that there are two different things. Moving on to the next slide.
So this is the proposal in a nutshell. Very simple. This is the 3-step plan to make sure that you're making the most money possible. Step 1. You want to seek out pigeons in public places. Public places is very important. You don't want to go to a zoo where they might have pigeons, or some kind of facility where they store or breed pigeons.
But I'll interject for a second there, Bryce. Sorry to cut you
Please.
off. Do make a note. If there are places that are not public, like he was mentioning, zoos, storage facilities, those sorts of things, do keep those in mind. See if you can establish connections for a later part of this business idea. But for now, you need to find them in public. So, train stations, city centers, those sorts of things.
Yeah. So step 2, capture these wild pigeons using a capture device or, as shown, other means. If you don't have a capture device, this is why we're keeping costs low. Capture device?
Exactly.
I mean, they can cost what, $5 or $6? So
at the low end.
Low end, yeah. And so if you want to start this business with the lowest possible investment, you need to get good with your hands. Now, this is the pivotal part. Capturing them, that's great. You have your product now. What do you do when you have your product? You need to sell. You sell these pigeons on the secondary market as an exotic pet, or anywhere you can sell them. There's plenty of places to sell them, but an exotic pet, the reason we use that as an example is because that is going to get you the most money. That is going to get you the highest bid.
Exactly, yeah. And the important thing here is maximizing ROI, or return on investment.
Dallas, can you explain what ROI is, actually, real quick? I figured this is pretty important.
So as I said, ROI stands for return on investment, and it signifies the return that you get on investments. Moving on to the next slide here. Just a quick view of the market.
Yeah. So the U.S. pet market, this is just the United States, is valued at $46 billion, with all sale channels sharing a relatively even split of the market share. Now, why did we bring that up? Dallas, why did we bring that up?
Well, here's the thing, is that there are a lot of markets where some sales channels really dominate. And if you're in a weaker sales channel, there's really not a ton of room to make money. But with the U.S. pet market, which you'd be entering, doing this pigeon arbitrage arrangement, all sale channels have a relatively even split of the market share.
So whichever one you go into,
it's healthy.
You're getting an even split of that market. And consider, channels are not mutually exclusive. You can exist within multiple channels at the same time, which means you can take more than an even split of that market share. Because one important tip, this is just a quick tip, and this is something me and Dallas talk about all the time. How can we get one over on our competitors, our rivals, villains? How can we get one up over them? And that's one of the ways. Make sure that you're taking advantage of all your assets. You're looking at all possible avenues that you can sell these pigeons. Like I said, there's pets. You could sell them to a zoo. You could train them to do tricks or collect coins and bring them back to you. You could sell them, as food?
We'll touch on that in a moment, but definitely put a pin in that one, folks. But what I will say, just touching on something Bryce was mentioning, do keep in mind, you need to dominate as much as you can, whether that be by using multiple sales channels, that sort of thing. Getting one up on your competitors is the most important thing in any business, and the reason for that is that your competitors are bad people.
Exactly,
they're evil, and there's a moral badness to them,
and you have a moral calling to defeat these people. You need to get so many ones over them that you can take them out when you decide, that you can hold it over them. You need to be able to dictate the market. And $46 billion, that's a big market. You need to start catching pigeons as soon as possible. Let's move on to the next slide. Startup costs.
Absolutely.
We've already talked about this a couple times, but let's get into the numbers a little bit. So the pigeons, they're free. Nobody's going to charge you for catching pigeons out in the wild. That's simple. Dallas, you want to cover the rest?
Absolutely. So if you're going to be catching pigeons, you're going to need to have bread to attract them. Now, bread, traditionally $1, but there might be a way to save some money on that. We'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
And as for the capture device, as we mentioned, this is likely the most expensive part of the arrangement. Now, you could get a free capture device, but I've found that with capture devices, you tend to get what you pay for.
Exactly.
Now, these can range anywhere up to $50,000-$60,000. So just keep in mind whatever your budget is starting out. Just consider that as you're buying your capture device. Again, if you want to use one.
One common sales tactic. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but one common tactic that I've seen a lot of people use, and I've done it just a couple times myself, is don't discount Facebook Marketplace. People list items on there for a certain price all the time, but if you message them and really form a connection with them, you can really bring that price down. I've seen items that were going for $1,000 get brought down to $5 before. So if you see a nice capture device on Facebook Marketplace, just talk to them. Be nice. Let them know that you're a business owner. You're making a startup. People love that, especially in the United States. If you're in another country, like an evil country, maybe like China, be a little careful.
Yeah, just because Facebook Marketplace over there,
I don't even know if they have Facebook.
What is it, Billy Marketplace, whatever their equivalent is. I wouldn't use it just because most of the people you'd be finding in your area are kind of evil and less good than the people that we have in America.
Exactly.
Now, moving on, as we were talking about before, the competition. These are bad people.
Your enemies.
You don't like them.
And these are just some of the big players in the pet market and the pigeon market, the bird market as a whole. That's something to consider too when we're talking about pigeons, is we're saying pigeons, but you can think a little bit bigger. We're giving you an idea. You need to iterate on it. We say pigeons, you think bird. You think bird, you think raptor. Raptor, dinosaur, lizard. You start catching lizards. They're very common in Florida. Lizards, so many of them. Sell them for a couple bucks. I'm just saying, but not to get too far off topic. Some of the big players, PetSmart, Petco, of course, if you're selling them as pets. Walmart, hey, I'm just going to say it. Some of the chicken they're selling at Walmart might be pigeons.
I'd venture a guess. Same with another one of our competitors, Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
We have our suspicions, is what I'll say.
Moving on. Now, market saturation. This graph, it's just self-explanatory. Just take a look at it, and you'll really be able to see how saturated the market is. Now, what that means doesn't really matter to you as long as you can catch these pigeons.
Exactly. Yeah. The important part is just catching the pigeons and selling them. That's more important.
Exactly.
But I would definitely consider, obviously, the market saturation, which is displayed by this graph, and also consider the Overton window, because it's something that I don't think a lot of people really pay enough attention to, especially in starting a business of this kind, where you are dealing in, a luxury good, an exotic pet. So
not a lot of people thinking about the Overton window when it comes to business for some reason. They really need to take it into consideration.
You need to. And moving on here, just a little bit more about the market saturation. Here's just some more additional information about it for you.
Exactly.
As you step into the market,
pretty simple. You can see as sales go up and time goes on, the profitability goes up. Dallas, can you explain what profits are? This is really an introductory course. So,
yes. So, the traditional view of profits is that it is what remains after you take your gross revenue and subtract your costs. And I would agree that is in fact what it is. The traditional knowledge.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
Correct in this case. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we've already given you a number of tips, but these are some really solid tips that weren't just off the dome. These are things that we've had our team working on for a little while, ever since we presented them with this idea. So, like we said earlier, if you find a pond or a park where there are ducks, or any sort of wild fowls that are being fed bread, people they'll take the bread, right? And they'll like take a piece of it, they'll ball it up in their hands, and then they'll toss it out to some birds. Now, what can you do with this information? You're not a duck, you're not a fowl, but you are someone who's looking to start a business. So you get in that park, get a net, get a paper bag, get your hands, get dirty. You need to get in there and grab those pieces of bread because that is free resources for your business. That is going to allow you to catch these pigeons way easier.
Bryce, can I interject for just one
Of course.
moment? First of all, incredible cost save because bread is one of the more expensive parts of this operation.
Yes.
If you have a capture device, you can use the capture device to pick up the bread out of the duck ponds. Just keep that in mind. Listen, you came here for advice. We're here to give it to you. But hey, don't tell anybody, right? Keep that one. Play those cards close to the chest.
Exactly. The more that you have that your opponents don't have, that's awesome.
We can call them enemies and villains.
Exactly.
I would say
all of them.
So make sure exactly they're just not good. Consider painting your pigeons. People love things that look pretty. People like things that look exotic. Now, I'm sure you've seen at least a couple of gray pigeons before. Usually, it's how they come out of the box. Have you seen a red pigeon, Bryce?
No, I don't think I have actually. That would be awesome, though.
It would be. What about maybe a blue pigeon? I haven't seen one of those.
I haven't seen
but
one. No.
Huh. I bet your customers haven't either.
So, I mean, honestly, painting, it's a fun activity. If you have kids, you can get them to do it after you've captured the pigeons. So, yeah, make sure you're taking advantage of every opportunity that you can to really maximize your profit.
I'm going to call an audible.
Okay.
Now, this PowerPoint, we do sell this information. People can look at this. But this is going to be something that's just for you and me, right? Just for us, Bryce, and the viewer right now watching this. Business Box exclusive tip for you. You can paint your pigeons yourself. Or you could open a painting studio and people can pay you for the privilege.
Now that is an incredible idea. You can open a business to help supplement and support your business. That's something people don't consider is how do businesses play into each other? A lot of ways.
Vertically integrate the businesses. So you have
sometimes horizontally.
Paint studio or horizontally. I'd say this is kind of both. It's more of like a triangle shape.
Almost kind of diagonal too. There's a lot of ways that this can go.
And what you could do is, taking this to the logical, next step, right? You can kind of create a perpetual motion machine by having this paint studio paint your pigeons, which you then sell, and then you also have your pigeon business supporting the paint studio by turning the pigeons into the paint that you use to paint the pigeons.
Exactly.
Just like I said, that's just for you and me, right? Just a little something for the viewers here. You can make your own traps too. You can combine sticks, string, and boxes. You can find all those things just outside.
Exactly. If you're having trouble, I know, I talked to one of my friends because, listen, we do test these out because we wouldn't give you anything that we don't know works. We make sure that each one of our business ideas makes at least $1,000 every day from day one. So we tested this out over the course of a week. Our buddy Braden. And so he was having trouble finding boxes because he was really trying to figure out how to make his own traps to keep costs down. And so he went into Lowe's, and they have like these boxes. They're like not folded yet or anything, but you can grab them. And he said he just grabbed them and walked out with them, and nobody stopped him. So I think Lowe's is just giving out free boxes. So keep that in mind.
Which is very kind of them.
Exactly.
It's a good business.
You can also find a lot of homeless people have boxes that they're probably willing to part with.
Exactly. You can trade them either for money or even for pigeons if you wanted to kind of, like I said, vertically integrate businesses and have a self-sustaining business model.
Right. And we've been saying this the whole time. Broaden your business scope. So pigeons, they can be sold as pets, emotional support pets, farm animals, if anybody's trying to farm pigeons, or, like we keep saying, a quick snack. Nobody can really tell the difference between chicken and pigeon. So don't limit yourself. Take these pigeons and fly with them.
You can use that as a slogan, by the way.
If you need to. Let's look on to the next slide now. This is the portion of our podcast that we like to call the numbers, where we really get down into the nitty gritty and really break things down. So if you have a hard time with numbers, maybe get a notepad or open notepad on your computer and start writing some of these down. So pigeons can be sold roughly from about $5 to somewhere in the ballpark of $8,000 as per our market research that we've done with our team. And I'm going to have to talk to who's our slide guy?
Don't tell me he fucked it up.
He fucked it up again. We're going to have to talk to our slide guy. I am so sorry. That is a grievous mistake. There was supposed to be a very, very important number there that
I'm writing a note. Listen, I'm going to write a note.
Please.
I'm writing a note. I can't. God damn it. Fucking Joao. He every fucking time. We trust him. We trust him to do this one thing.
Hey. Calm down. It's fine. We're gonna take care of it after this. But it's his ass, not ours. Anyways, moving on. I'm so sorry again. God. Given that the overhead cost can be, I'm just reading this verbatim now. He's really throwing me off my game. Given that the overhead cost can be as little as $0, your expected, no, this is a vocab word, return on investment can be as high as several trillion%. You take that $0 startup cost, one pigeon sold immediately, you are in the ROI category of some of the biggest players in the game. You might even be above them.
I would say, because, hey, what does it cost Apple to make an iPhone? I don't know, $8. What do they sell it for? $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
What's the percentage on that? It's like a 30% markup.
Exactly.
You consider that versus this. If you sell one pigeon for, let's say, the bottom barrel, Dollar General price, $5, it's over an 8 trillion% markup.
Consider also Dollar General. That's a good mention. Consider partnering with some of these bigger grocery and retail stores to sell your pigeons. Just talk to the local managers. A lot of them have the power to decide what stock is going to be in the store, and they can really source that locally. So, talk to the managers, go in, make sure that you let them see your face. It's very important. A lot of people, they call them, and they're like, no,
Can't do that. You need to shake hands.
You gotta shake hands. They gotta see your face. They gotta know your voice. Dallas, I want you to really emphasize this last one.
Bryce, this is the most important thing, maybe in this entire PowerPoint. Why is this business valuable? Let's dig into the numbers on this one. You are your own boss.
Yes.
Need we say more?
No, you don't.
No, we don't.
We don't need to say anymore. Now, just want to take a quick little break here, a little ad break. I know
quick aside.
Everybody hates this, but if you're in the business for businesses, then you got to understand the value of an advertisement. And Dallas, please take us away.
You should hopefully understand the value of advertisement and the value of music. Music is great for a lot of business owners as something to listen to. Now, today this episode is sponsored by Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the classic Ace Hood album. Do give it a listen on Amazon Music. Thank you for listening to it on Amazon Music. Again, that was Blood, Sweat, and Tears by Ace Hood.
And we'd like to thank Ace Hood's team once again for sponsoring this first episode of the Business Box. I know Mr. Hood himself, he's a big fan of us. We've worked with him a couple times and some of his businesses, and we've helped him get a couple new cars, if you know what I'm saying. I love him.
He's also an exemplary business owner, because I think something that a lot of CEOs can really learn a lot from each other. And one business idea that I know we had talked about doing, but he kind of beat us to the punch, is to make an album called Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and have all the songs on it, like Go and Get It, and
Exactly.
Hustle Hard, Yeah.
They're good songs. We were thinking about making them ourselves, but hey, that's what happens in the business, and we're good friends with Ace. So anyways, let's move on. If you don't understand the Pigeon arbitrage thing yet, we're going to be having a live stream on our Patreon. We're going to go and take questions. But for now, we need to dip back into that market because we've been watching it.
Very closely, very closely. And as you'll see here, this was quite recent news. Joe Biden stepped down from the presidential race. And because of that, anti-Biden merchandise sales are also down, quite significantly so. An estimated $400 million drop in market value, which is very, very big number.
It was a big contributor to the stock market crash.
Exactly. Yeah, this is kind of the first domino to fall, as it were. And Bryce, what are some implications of that?
So we've already seen with the stock market crash as a whole, so many people have lost their money, but this is a very risky opportunity because we don't know exactly where it's going to go. But anti-Kamala Harris merch is not quite meeting the same value as anti-Joe Biden merch. So you can try to dig your heels in and sell some anti-Kamala stuff, but it might be a little bit risky. I'm not going to lie to you.
Best if you can get if you can figure out some kind of wordplay with her name, good luck.
Yeah,
I'll say good luck.
We're waiting. As soon as the first good one comes out, we're going to be dropping a little drop shipping tutorial on how to buy some of those goods from places like Alibaba and stuff like that. So you'll be able to sell on one of our favorite new markets, actually, the TikTok shop. So keep an eye out for that. Anyways, moving on one more time. This is, I believe, our final slide, and this section will be doing pretty much every single business box. This is the Business Bites, small ideas that you have the opportunity to grow into something huge.
Exactly. Now, the main episodes and the format that we're going to be using moving forward is talking about a bigger business idea, one that we can really dig into the weeds of. But then let's say you don't like pigeons, you don't like arbitrage for whatever reason.
That's weird.
That's fine. We wanted to give you some other...
It's not fine. It's weird.
It is, but I'm trying not to cast judgment, but if you don't like arbitrage, there's no hope for you in the world of business at all. Right? We do some real shit.
Whenever I spent that summer in Italy, you remember a couple years ago?
I do, yeah.
There was actually what was his name? Grant Stevens, I believe, was the host of the classes.
Our friend, yeah.
I was attending his classes, and he had an arbitrage appreciation course, where we were basically just walking all throughout Italy, looking at all these businesses and really appreciating the way that they do arbitrage. So if you're struggling with something like that, because I do think that it is something some people can struggle with who aren't quite as business minded as people like us, consider taking a quick trip to Italy and talking to our friend Grant.
Yeah, well, we'll put a link to Grant's arbitrage course down below. And it's kind of a similar vein travel wise. I visit Thailand every year.
Right.
I kind of it's more personal reasons than business.
Right.
But I go to Thailand a lot. I spend a lot of time there. I go there a lot. I've spent a lot of time in Thailand.
Yeah. Anyways, the business bites. The first one. This is a quick little one that I was just thinking of earlier. So broken whistles. It's kind of hard to do anything with them. They're plastic. They're hard plastic. They're hard to recycle. Throwing them away seems like a waste. But if you have enough of them, and you find like your local dog park, you'll be able to take them, sell them as dog whistles. Dog whistles, silent. Broken whistles, silent.
Exactly. That's the point of a dog whistle, is that it's silent, right? So you give someone a broken whistle, it's silent. Well, it becomes a dog whistle.
Exactly.
Recycling is a very important thing. Just because something is not serving one purpose doesn't mean it can't serve a different one. So definitely consider that. And also, let's say that you're at the dog park. Dog parks I would consider a thirsty place. And if you find any other thirsty places, sell water over there. It's the best place to sell water. Is thirsty places.
Exactly. One thing that we've recently found out about this, it's kind of a newer thing this past couple months. We found out about the artificial intelligence images. You can go to something like Bing, or Google, I think, has their own thing now. And if you go to their thing, you search like AI image maker. You can type in, pretty much anything that you want. Which, hey, listen, selling pictures, that's something we didn't even think about. But specific images, you could sell and create the images of people. Whenever somebody dies, sometimes people make
happens a lot.
People make like shirts for them or something. You could like make those shirts with like AI images. To spend like a couple minutes, kind of ironing out your demands to the AI or whatever, and then it'll come out with something good. Find either like a local printer or maybe put it on Redbubble, and you'll be able to sell shirts to family members of a recently deceased person.
Exactly, yeah. And you don't have to know the person at all. I mean, just look at your local obituary, make the shirts, show up at the funeral, or if they're having a wake or public service of some kind, just bring the shirts with you. Just sell them. People are going to be buying.
Exactly.
I mean, I know that anytime I've gone to a funeral or a wake for a family member that's passed away, I've really thought that a way to honor the memory that I would really appreciate would be a shirt that has a picture of a big grave on it.
Exactly. Dallas, you came up with this next one. That was a pretty good one. I'll let you take point.
So a lot of us are familiar with car washes. Usually something where you go, you wash people's cars, more or less. That's the whole to do. Now, you can start a fundraiser as part of the car wash where people pay for the car wash. They think it's going to a fundraiser, but what they actually don't know is that you're pocketing all the money.
Exactly. This one's really beneficial. If you have a couple bucks on you, you can probably find some like kids that are around and kind of ask them to come like hang out with you, like near like the Advanced Auto Parts. Hang out there, get a couple buckets, some water. Usually these businesses will have like little spouts on the side. You can turn on, get the water from there. That's like a little cost save. Some soap maybe, and just have these kids wash down these cars, and you'll see people just throwing money at you, and then you can take that money, invest in a business or start one. We got some great ideas.
Now, there's another one kind of circling back to what we were talking about earlier. There's always a demand for any given product. Now, if you have dog whistles, as we talked about earlier, they're silent, right? You can't hear them. What else is silent?
I don't know.
Bryce will give you a hint. Broken human whistles. Now, human whistles, traditionally very loud, but if they break, suddenly they're dead quiet, quieter than a mouse even. So there's obviously demand for that. So if you have a dog whistle, well, I mean, definitely serves the part. Just sell it as a broken human whistle.
Yeah.
And if you already have all these broken human whistles, one thing you can do is bring them to a house that you don't own. And now you do.
Exactly. Squatting, it's a pretty recent phenomenon. You find a house that's occupied or not occupied or owned by somebody else, not owned by you generally, and you just start living in it. This is really going to save you a lot because we know, rent's going up. Houses, they cost a whole bunch of money apparently. So if you need a place to stay to save a couple bucks, you can just find a place, squat in it. And listen, that's not it. You're not just saving money. Squatting is also an opportunity to earn money because a lot of these times you'll be squatting in a house and you'll find somebody who owns the house. They'll come by and they'll be like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" You can explain that you're squatting and you have rights. And if they try to call the police on you again, you can kind of flash those rights at them and be like, "No, I'm not gonna leave." And then if you need to, you can try to be like, "Hey, I'll leave if you give me, let's say, $1,000, or if you invest in my business."
It's an opportunity. Oh, wait a second. This is your house? I mean, I was pretty comfortable here, but if you wanted to buy some of my pigeons, maybe I could make something work for you.
Full circle.
Yep. Cycle of Samsara. Now, this is a more recent addition to this PowerPoint. Sell water from spouts. Now, Bryce was mentioning earlier how a lot of places like AutoZone, garages, they have spouts. You can take the water from it and sell it. That is also an arbitrage.
And honestly, that's a great idea. Water, it's a necessity for life. So if you can get it for free, you can sell it to people who will pay money for it. Once again, we're talking about the ROI. What's the percentage on that, Dallas?
Let me run some numbers real quick.
He's our numbers guy.
Pulling up a calc right now.
Please. He's our numbers guy, but it takes him a while sometimes.
Short for calculator.
He's also good with numbers when he's using a calculator, like most often. You
More than a 50% ROI, Bryce.
That is big numbers.
Exactly. Those are some of the best in the biz. So don't write off the water from the spout idea because there's money to be made here, folks.
Now, listen, that is going to be our first episode of the Business Box, but make sure that you stay tuned, you tap into our Patreon, because we are going to be bringing many more business ideas, many business bites, and all sorts of general business tips to you. I have been Bryce.
And I've been Dallas. And this has been the Business Box. Now get out there and make some money.
See ya.